Okay, this is going to be a video on increasing, decreasing, also axis of symmetry. All right, this fits right in with what we were doing with domain and range. What you want to do is you want to label these arrows. That's a left arrow going down, so negative, negative. Right arrow going up, positive, infinity, positive. This turn is 2 over, 2 up. This turn is 0, 6, okay? All right, so what you want to do is when we're doing increasing and decreasing, we only care about the x values only, okay? And what you're going to do is you're going to go from left to right. And if you feel your finger going up, it's increasing. You feel your finger going down, decrease, okay? If it's flat, it's constant. So from negative infinity to 0, I'd be going up. So that's an increase from negative infinity, okay, to 0. Then I'm going from 0 to 2, and you feel my finger going down, that's decrease. And then 2 to infinity is an increase, okay? So increase, decrease, increase. Okay, all right? So here's my arrows, okay? All right, this is a left arrow, and it is leveling, okay? So it's not going up or down, and it's leveling at 2. This is a right arrow, so positive infinity, leveling at negative 2. Okay, a little bit different there with the label. Let's look at my terms. This is negative 2 over, 2 up. This is 2 over, negative 2 up. Now, I don't need to worry about, all I care about are these values. Start from the left. This is flat, so that's going to be constant from negative infinity to negative 2. Then from negative 2 to 2, it's a decrease. And then from 2 to infinity, it's another constant. Okay, and that's how you would do those. Okay, all right. Okay, I want you to go ahead and label this one and go ahead and try this one on your own. All right, end behaviors. Okay, end behaviors, they tie right back into the arrows. So if I label the arrows, this is positive, positive. This is negative, positive. Left arrow going up. Now, as x approaches infinity, okay? Now, if you look at these arrows, this is the x, this is the y, this is the x, this is the y. As x approaches infinity, that's this one. What is the y doing? That's going to be positive infinity. As x approaches negative infinity, that would be this arrow, okay? The y approaches also positive infinity. So this tells you which coordinate to look at, all right? And that's how simple it is, okay? All right? Now, this one's not an arrow. This is going to be a dot here. So it's going to be negative 6, okay, 0. This is an arrow. That's a positive, positive, okay? Now, as x approaches positive infinity, okay, this is the x, this is the y, it's going to be positive infinity. As x approaches negative infinity, now if you look at my picture, what's the problem with that? We don't have a negative infinity. So the y would be none. Okay? All right? Okay? So why don't you guys go ahead and try this one. And you would do from positive infinity, negative, if that helps you. Okay? All right? Putting it all together. All right? Putting it all together. Now, what we want to do, okay, for the domain and range, we're going to label this. That's a left arrow going down. This is the point 0, 4. So for domain, all right, this is the x, this is the y. Okay, smallest x is negative infinity, biggest x is 0. Range, smallest y is negative infinity, biggest y is 4. Now, since that 4, okay, has an open circle, I have a curved bracket. The zeros, where does it cross the x-axis? We'll just assume that's negative 2. That's close enough. X equals negative 2. That's also x equals negative 2. Where does it cross or touch the y-axis? Y equals 4. Okay, let me plug my computer back in before it dies. Okay, all right. Okay? Increasing, decreasing. Where do I start from? I start from the left. I just care about this. So that is increasing from negative infinity to 0. There is no decreasing. Okay? As x approaches infinity, as x approaches negative infinity. But there is no regular infinity, so that's going to be none. X approaches negative infinity. What's the y doing? It's also negative infinity. All right? Okay, let's look at this one. Okay, this point is -4, -2. This point is -2, 2. This point is 2, -2. This arrow is positive infinity, positive. Okay? So domain, the smallest x value, these are my x's. The smallest x value is -4. And since that comes from a closed-in dot, that's what it looks like. The biggest one would be infinity. Okay, so that's also x is greater than or equal to -4. The range, the smallest y value is -2. The biggest y value is infinity. Okay, the zeros, okay, that crosses here, that crosses here, that crosses here. So I'm going to say x is -3.5. Okay, x is -0.5, x is 4. Okay, and the x-intercepts are the same thing. Okay, the y-intercept, it crosses the y-axis right here at y equals -0.5. Okay, increasing and decreasing. All I care about is these. So from here to here is an increase, -4 to -2. The -2 to 2 is a decrease. 2 to infinity is an increase. As x approaches infinity, as x approaches negative infinity. As x approaches infinity, the y-coordinate is positive. As x approaches negative infinity, I don't have one, so that answer is none. Okay, all right. And what you want to do is finish the classwork. Okay, all right. Now, one last thing I want to cover that you may see, that if you have a symmetric graph, okay, and they talk about the axis of symmetry. Okay, what that is the x equals of whatever your x coordinate is of your vertex. Okay, so the axis, let's say this point is 3, -7, then the axis of symmetry would be x equals 3. Okay, cuts the graph in half. It's like when you're a kid and you do the Valentine. Okay, let's say this was -10, 4. Then the axis of symmetry would be x equals -10. Okay? All right? So what I'd like you guys to do, go ahead and let's say this was 8, 5. And let's say this was -3, 9. Okay? Go ahead and find the axis of symmetry for that. Okay? And that will conclude that lesson.